When I got into modern tabletop games heavily in 2003, the game group that I was a part of taught me dozens of games, most of which I had never heard of before. I knew Can't Stop and Lost Cities and a few other titles along those lines, but for the most part, everything was new. And one of the games they taught me that year was Age of Steam, freshly on the market in the Warfrog Games edition. And I'd never played an Empire Builder or 18xx, anything along those lines. And it showed because in that first game, I built track on one side of the board and I built track on the other side, figuring I was giving myself options for where to grow in the future so that I have multiple options for delivering goods. Seemed like a smart approach in theory, but it was not in practice because as you were delivering goods over track, the people who own that track get paid. So of course you want to move over your own track as much as possible. And for the most part, I was giving money to other people. And I was getting very little in return because other people had built up their tracks smartly and had networks that branch out and they would deliver only over their own track or maybe one payout to someone else, but mostly to themselves. So it was a real learning experience. And that was what the group did a lot, where they would teach you a game and then you're on your own. Good luck. And if you don't figure it out, well, try to do better next time, right? Learn from how you got beat and try to do more like that. I like that style of teaching where you're kind of thrown out there in the open water and you can just fail if you make bad choices. There's a lot of designs like that that are just open to you failing, but there seem to be fewer of them on the modern market where a lot of games seem designed for an ideal first play experience where you kind of have guardrails that direct you a little bit, and so you will advance in the game and you'll score and you'll sort of do well and you'll have something there and you feel like you made progress. And sure, someone else won, they put things together better, but you still have an idea for what you're doing and advance on that path. Not as many designs, it seems, that are just open to you failing or that give you a basic rule set and then you're on your own. What was nice is at the end of 2023, found a new game along those lines, Die Patin, which is German for the Godmother. It's designed by Pim Thunborg and Zoc Verlag. It's a third title from Pim Thunborg. He did Hunger the Show 2017 and Trolls and Princesses earlier in 2023. Haven't played either of those, but I did play this one. And what was interesting is Zoc Verlag normally does lots of children's games, family games, things that feature lots of animals, like Right for the Insel, which has monkeys, which I covered earlier this year. You can look at that overview there. They have lots of games with chickens and worms and chickens eating worms and donkeys and all sorts of stuff. Very much children, family game design. This is not that style of game. It looks like it a little bit. Each player is running a mob that is an animal, raccoons, badgers, other sorts of things. And you are fighting for territory in a town. And you are going to take over other people and take their businesses and push them out of the way and try to score. There's a little mob offing in there, but it's rats. They're cubes. You just remove the cubes from the board. It's a very non-graphic mob activity. It's more about taking over businesses and territory. That's what you're trying to do in this game. And it's very open. Rules are pretty minimal. You get into it right away. And then it's kind of harsh because you're on your own and you just have to figure things out. Let me show you how it works. Here are the components of Die Patin set up and ready to play. The game board depicts 7 districts with 3 areas in each of the colored districts. With a 5-player game, you use the entire board. With 4 players, you use only 6 districts, so this one is fenced off. 3 players, you use 5, and 2 players, you use 3 districts. Each area on the board has 4 manholes around it. Those are important. We'll get to those later. At the start of play, each player in reverse player order is going to choose a starting location. And those starting locations are indicated by small numbers on the buildings. So this has a 4 and a 2. So it's a starting building in a 2-player game and a 4-player game. Here in a 5-player game. Here in a 3-player game. The rulebook depicts these starting layouts, but it doesn't tell you, look for those little numbers so you know where you're going to start. In any case, reverse player order. Pick a starting area and fence off your territory. So we've got a colored district, We've got individual areas, and we have your territory, which is owned by a player. Your territory is fenced off in sticks of your color, and you place 3 rats in one manhole, 2 in another, 1 in another, leave the last one empty. So everyone starts this same way. The game lasts 5 rounds, and in each round you are going to take 4 actions. 3 actions with your 3 henchmen, and 1 action with your godmother. You are going to take internal actions within your territory, or an external action adjacent to your territory. 2 areas are adjacent if they share a border or they share 2 manholes. So I'm green starting here. I have 3 adjacent areas that I can take actions in initially. The henchmen take an internal or external action of your choice on your turn. The godmother works a little differently. You have 3 action tiles, and at the start of a round, you choose one of them and lock in the godmother's move. The other 2 go aside. They will all be face down. Other people don't know what you're going to do, but they know you're going to do one of these 3 things. I'll leave all these face up for now. When you take an internal action, we'll just use a henchman for now, you are going to do some combination of these 3 things. The internal actions are depicted on the board here, the external ones here. They're trying to show here's the territory that you control. You are internal, you are external. The internal-external thing takes a bit of getting used to, similar to Reiner Knizia's Tigris and Euphrates, where an internal-external conflict always confuses people until they have played a number of times. But it's all depicted on the board, so ideally you keep it clear. You are going to do different things. You can claim loot. Each district has 2 loot cubes, and if your territory is within a district, you can claim a loot cube from that district. Each district starts with 2 cubes, and they will be refilled at the start of each round. So I could take an action, take a loot. I can't take any other loot because my territory is only in this brown district. I can place rats on manholes in this area, surrounding this area, or remove opposing rats. So in this game, very importantly, rats of 1 color are allowed on a manhole, not 2 colors, not 3, 4 is right out. Only 1 or none. So if I was going to take this action, I could remove this rat, or I could add a rat here or any of the other manholes. I could use my 2 actions, 1 to remove an opposing rat and 1 to add a rat of my color. Those would be my 2 actions. So remove a loot cube, do something with rats, or build a safe room. You are a mobster. You're trying to control territory here. Okay, you're going to take control of businesses. The board starts with business tiles on it. There's 4 of each type of business tile. And you've got food and drink and gambling and drugs, I suppose. Haircuts? Not sure about that. So 4 tiles of each business. You can build a safe room within an area in your territory, but only if it's the second person that you have placed in that area. One guy on his own, I guess he doesn't feel quite confident. He isn't ready to build a safe room, or you just need more help than just 1 person. So on a later turn, if I put a second person in here, I would again take 2 actions. I cheated here by taking 3 actions in my earlier play. Take 2 actions, I can remove a loot cube, and for my second action, I'm going to build a safe room because I have a second guy in here. This doesn't already have a safe room. I can take one of my tiles, take the business tile of my choice. I'll take the hats here, the haberdasher, put in my safe room. Now it's showing I'm doing business here, and I have this tile. When you take a tile, you get a bonus that's depicted on the tile. In this case, we have a cube with a red arrow. I can remove any opposing rat, 1 opposing rat anywhere on the board. If you have a green arrow going down on the board, you can place one of your rats any empty space on the board or anywhere where you already have rats. If you have the white cube, that means you get a loot cube from the supply. Okay, like my nice supply over here. And finally, you have a martini glass that is worth 1 point at the end of the game. So those are the 4 options. Pick the one you want, pick the tile that you want, maybe based on where the other tiles are. You want to look ahead, you want to collect sets of businesses if you can. There's actually another cheese district here. Maybe you want to take that cheese instead and hope to expand in the future. So this goes in front of me. I keep it for the entire game. It's worth at least 1 point for the martini, and you get points for the number of tiles in a business, 1, 3, 6, and 10 for collecting 1, 2, 3, or 4. On the next turn, let's say I take an external action and go here. When you take an external action, you must spend, if you are using the henchman, at least 1 loot cube, so that's a reason to pick up loot cubes, to place a rat on the board, on a manhole, or remove a rat. It's the cost of doing business. You got to spend some loot. And you can spend as much loot as you want. I have only 1, because that's it at the start of the game. And after you do that, so you're spending some number of loot cubes to remove rats or place yours. If I had enough cubes, I could have removed these 2 and then placed 1 there, which would be a good idea. We'll see why right now. After you have spent cubes, you are now going to assess whether you control that area. What's your influence in that area compared to everyone else? Each rat cube is worth 1. Each henchman is worth 1. The Godmother is worth 2. Again, we'll get to her still. So 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6 versus 2. I've got enough influence. I can take over. Okay. And now I control this territory. Your territory can be split over the course of play. We'll get to that in a moment, but I've now expanded my territory here. Now, do a Godmother action. You can do the Godmother first, second, third, fourth in the round. That's up to you when you want to reveal that tile and show what you have planned for. You have 1 internal action and 2 external actions that you can choose for the Godmother. The internal action, place her on an area in a territory that you control and take 5 actions. Instead of taking 2, you take 5 because she's so powerful. Taking loot cubes, removing or placing rats, building a safe house. So if I had chosen the internal action, I could go here. This is now my second figure here. I could take the cheese. I get a loot cube from the supply as my reward and place a safe house. And that was 1 action. I would then have 4 more actions. I may as well take this other loot cube. I can now remove, there's no more loot. I've already done a safe house. You can only do 1 safe house at a time. I've got 3 other actions just to remove or place rats. So 1, 2, 3. There we go. That would be my 4 actions for the round. I've done a bit. I built 2 safe houses. I expanded my territory. I've got more influence here. The rats are influence in an area to see whether you control it. The way I've built out here, next round, perhaps I could place a henchman here, and I now have 5 influence versus 3 for yellow, and then I would claim that claim that area as well. You gotta remember to use the right terms. Districts for color, area, individual, territory, what you own. So maybe I can plan to do that next turn. Of course, it depends on what the yellow player is doing, but you can have dreams for what you want to try to do. The external actions for the Godmother. Maybe I plan that for the next turn. You can place her in an adjacent area to territory that you control, and you can take 4 remove or place rat actions without paying loot cubes, and then you see if you control the territory. So on my next turn, maybe this would be my next action. I go here. I would possibly remove those 3, put one of my down or put one down here. And then I would control that and expand my territory. The other external action is to remove all the rats on a manhole, all the opposing rats on a manhole, and then place 2 of your own. So I actually would have made out better if I had chosen this one. Of course, if the yellow player on their turn had added more rats, which they might want to do, well, that would still be the better option. But if they had spread out, if they had done something else, if they moved them around, if blue had attacked them and gotten some down, maybe this would be the better option. So take 4, place or remove rats, or remove all the opposing rats and place 2 of your own. Similar, but different effects as you build things up. Okay, that might be the next turn. So internal action, 5 of those. External, you're gonna off some rats and put your own in place. There you go. At the end of the round, after everyone has taken their 4 actions, you're going to see whether you have met one of the 5 goals. They are to control the largest territory, or have the most rats on a single manhole, or have the most manholes that have your rats on them, or have the most safe rooms on the board, or have the most loot markers. So you got 5 goals. So I'm doing things here to advance and build and grow. I've got these 2 cheese tiles. Those are worth 3 points on their own, plus 1 for the martini. So those are points, and the other points that you get are going to come from these missions, the majorities, because they are majorities. Okay. If I have more safe houses than anyone else, I take my 1 marker, because we're in the first round, put it up here, and I will get 1 point for this at the end of the game. If I have the most loot cubes and the most safe houses, well, then I choose which one I want to do. Whatever one I do, I cannot do it again later in the game. It's one and done. And this drives a lot of the gameplay because in addition to trying to get sets of businesses, you are trying to score as many of these missions as possible. Because the game lasts 5 rounds. If you manage to place them all on the board, that's 15 points. That's a decent chunk of points. And then you'll add what you have here from businesses. If you don't manage to place one in the first round, well, the 1 just doesn't get placed. And in the second round, if you now I have the most safe rooms, I get 2 points. So you don't miss out much for not getting one of these majorities in the first round or even the second round. But in the later rounds, you definitely want to get these down. And the nice contradictory thing about the game is the better you are in the first few rounds. So let's say I do this. First round, second round, third round. Well, 4th and 5th round, I know what I have to do. I have to have the most loot cubes or control the most manholes. Control more manholes than any other player. Those are the only things that are going to let me put down a mission tile. And if I put down the mission tile, I know in the last round, I just care about loot cubes if I want to claim this. I still have the goal to get more businesses, to get points from that. But I definitely want to do this if possible. So I have only worried about what I was doing. I didn't show what anyone else did because blue and red and yellow, they're going to be doing things as well. Taking control, expanding their territory, building up rats. Again, this is the reason why you might pump a lot of rats into one manhole. Everything is public knowledge except for the Godmother action. So blue could look around. If everyone's played their Godmother, blue could figure out, can anyone beat 6? Maybe 6 is good. I don't have to worry about that. I'm definitely going to get the most rats in a manhole mission. The majority, the mission. I always think of them as missions. They're all majority bonuses for having the most of something. And now blue has done that. Now they are at risk of a Godmother action to remove all these in one go. But in a sense, they don't necessarily need that anymore. I mean, it is 6 strength for taking control of any area that manhole is connected to. That's good. But you also have the mission aspect. And you don't necessarily need 6 to take this over. And in fact, you could take this over with 1. You could take this over with none and just have your henchman here. And it's a strength of 1 versus a strength of none. That would work as well. So other people are going to do things. Take these off the board. If later in the game, let's say I'm expanding and then red bullies their way over here and takes over this territory. Maybe they off these rats and then they off some more of my rats. All right, let's say we do here and build this up. And then they come in with their Godmother. And now they've got 5 strength versus my 4. Ooh, well, that's no longer green territory. That's now red territory. So red's going to fence it off. As the game progresses, there will barely be any unclaimed territory. Everyone will have their foot in it at some point. Because you don't just, even if I move out of here and have nothing here or very few rats, this is still red territory. It's very easy to take over, doesn't have much strength, but until someone comes in, it's still reds. And that can help you towards that largest area. When red takes over this, they take my safe room. I was doing business there and they're like, nope, not anymore. They flip this over and they get a point for busting my safe room. They didn't start a business here. They still need to, on a future turn, place a second person. They'll take this business and then they'll place a safe room of their own, which I don't have any of in the red. There we go. So the control of the areas, the layout of the territories, they're going to change a lot over the course of play. And then at the end of the game, add up the missions, the majorities that you have, add up your points from captured safe rooms and businesses. See who has the most points and wins. There's an overview of Die Patin, which I played twice on a review copy from Zoc Verlag, once with 3 players and once with 4. And I wanted to play it more times to get more experience with the game, talk about it, better understanding of the gameplay and the flow and everything. But people in my game group have been busy and ill, whatever, not available. So here we go, talking about it after 2 plays. Especially want to talk about it after a 5-player game. And I'll get there, but not yet. Gameplay on the box is listed at 30 minutes per player, and that has proved accurate, at least in my 2 plays. 3-player game was 90 minutes, 4 players about 2 hours, not counting learning the game in the first place. And I want to play with more people because of the majority aspect of the game. You're going to have more people on the board fighting for slightly more space. You only add 1 more district with that 5th player. So that adds another set of business tiles. But the board is essentially the same, and now you have more people fighting for the majority bonuses, and that's a huge aspect of the game. When we had our 3-player game, I think 2 people completed all 5 majorities, and I think 1 person only had 4. Don't remember exactly. But we pretty much didn't have an issue with completing them. We'd sort of take turns almost, as one person is going for the most, and one has the loot markers, and one has most rats on a manhole, and so forth, and you kind of shift around the board. It's a really interesting aspect of the design where you avoid the turtling of an area majority game where people get an area and hold it, and they're trying to get some sort of bonus from that or keep other people from getting their territory. That doesn't really work in this game because you have to spread out and do different things in order to get the majorities. Having lots of rats on one manhole gives you lots of influence within the connected areas, and that could help you get largest area, but then that's not necessarily going to help you get most loot markers or most safe houses. It's especially most manholes with rats. You have to spread out to do that. So you have to keep moving throughout the board. You're trying to get those businesses because once you've gone to a territory, you got the business, you put in a safe house, you can't get the other business there if there's a second business tile there. You have to go somewhere else. And then that leaves the territory open for someone else to come in and take your safe house and get a point from that and get that business. So you're trying to swoop in where other people already have been in order to take them out. So you score the point from the safe house, get the other business tile, and work towards getting those majorities. In the 4-player game, I think only one person got all 5 of their tiles out. I got 0 tiles out. I did not do well in the 4-person game, and I got hammered quite a bit, got squeezed, pushed around. There's one little bit of the rules that says you can't take over the last area that a person owns. That is, you can't take them off the board entirely. It's sort of a warning notice that that's possible, that could have happened if that rule wasn't there, because you keep getting squeezed down and your rats eliminated, and one player eliminates some rats, another player eliminates some rats, and suddenly you find yourself with very few rats and little influence on the board. There you are, you're pushed down to almost nothing. And then you can slowly try to build up and do things and squeeze out in some area. But all of the areas on the board get owned at some point. And so whatever you earn, you're taking away from someone else. I did okay in that 4-player game. I had, I think, 2/3 the point total of the winning player. Winning totals, I think, have been in the 25 to 30 range. I had a lot of businesses, had a lot of safe rooms, safe houses that I'd taken over. So I did well with sets and points and things like that, but no majorities. And if I had maybe the 4th round, 5th round majority bonus, that's another 9 points. So it would have, I think that raised my score by 50%. So would have been better, but I did not set myself up to get any of those bonuses in a meaningful way. Just could not overcome the barrier, because you can't tie with someone to get a majority bonus. Has to be strictly ahead. And then with 5 players, there's going to be more competition for that. Seems like it'd be far more difficult to do things well. And I'm kind of encouraged to try that, even though I did not do well. It's very much a game that I think will reward experience, because you'll have a better understanding of how to set yourself up one turn to the next to make things happen. I had some examples of poor turns in the game where I would try to plan to use my Godmother to take over an area. And just because of the way that the turn order went, other people might take a turn first, and they would claim a territory that I had my eye on. And now they had figures in there. They had adjusted the rat counters, throwing away loot tokens, putting down rats. They had a henchman in there, or they had their own Godmother in there. And that's going to boost the strength of that area for them and make it harder for me to take over, because their figures stay in that area until the end of the round. So then you have to go somewhere else. And maybe that's not the business you want, and not the set you're working for, and not the area that you think you're driving towards in order to expand further in the future. Because, as I mentioned, doing the game example, people often clear out over time and they leave weaker areas, and then you can sweep in and take them over. Because, again, you don't necessarily care about holding everything forever. The only benefit of doing that is that it's not in someone else's hands, so it makes it harder for them to do any of the majority bonuses. It doesn't give you necessarily any benefit, except for claiming loot tokens, because when you place a henchman, it has to be in a district where that area is part of your territory. And you can have multiple territories over the course of the game where you start growing, expanding here, and then someone takes out the middle one, but you're still here and you're here, and now you expand there and so forth. And people split territories in very dynamic ways, just based on the flow of the game and the opportunities available to you. So it seems like experience will play a very valuable role in assessing what other people could possibly do, trying to keep in mind the count of the number of actions available to them, what their strength could end up being, and how you plan to respond to that, or how you plan to, set up a situation where you have the most manholes with rats on them, and no one else has the actions available to take that away from you over time. There's lots of little elements to the game within that simple rule set, because it's fairly straightforward with everything. With the internal rules, right? Do one of these 3 things, or 2 actions of these 3 things. With safe houses not always even being an option. And then the loot will be claimed, possibly at the beginning of the round, and now there's only rat actions available. And the external actions. You need loot tokens in order to do that with your henchmen. So you can look at what everyone has and see what they can possibly do. So there's lots of information out there with only the Godmother tile being hidden. So you make plans based on what you think could happen. You see what's available to everyone on the board and then go from there. I'm really eager to try it again with more people, and I just need to make that happen. I actually took the game with me to a meetup group this past weekend, but it's mostly people I didn't know. I was a little hesitant about getting into a 2-hour, 2.5-hour game with people who I didn't know. Are they going to be fast players? How is it all going to work? If you've played with random people, you know that sometimes goes well. Great, you meet new people, have a blast, and other times you get someone who just doesn't work. That's the danger sometimes of that sort of public meetup. And I ended up playing lots of shorter games just because there was a new guy trying to learn things, and so we played Right for the Insel, which I mentioned before, and taught him Ticket to Ride. Hadn't played that. If you haven't played anything, start with Ticket to Ride. Don't start with this, where you're trying to assess so many possible options available to you on a turn. It's going to be a little overwhelming. You want to go with something far more straightforward. But for people who are experienced with games, want more of a challenge, this could be a good choice for you. Assuming you're fine playing Dirty Animal Mobster. If that doesn't bug you, well, there you go. Now you know more about the game. You can decide whether it might be right for you.